Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome members of the United States Senate, the United States House of Representatives, Speaker of the House, Secretary of State, and the First Lady. Ladies and gentlemen, Yolanda Adams, Dorinda Clark Cole, and Lomax Spalding.
Long time ago, in 1797, it was a special time in history, the year you were born. Although the times were often bad, you held your head up high, not giving up, never giving up, but you often wondered why. Was I? Was I born into the blood of slavery? Oh, just a child. Look how far we've come because of you. Oh, we're honoring you. Today is the day. Sojourner, we thank you. Today is your day. Oh, we thank you. Yes, we do.
So we honor you today, all because you paved the way, and you showed us what to do, living nothing but the truth.
A long time ago, you were born into a world when everything was so wrong. You wear the scars of pain and slavery, knowing inside your heart this wasn't how your life was meant to be.
For your inspiration, for the future of a nation, for the speech that you made, and our woman, yeah, a better situation, for your trials and your tribulations. We give this dedication, you're the truth, yeah. Yes, it's all because of you. Always had the courage to stay strong, keep pushing through, living nothing but truth. So we honor you today, all because you paved the way, sacrifice you made, for the roads that you made. So we just want to thank you. We honor you. We honor you. We honor you. We honor you. Thank you for paving the way. It's a special day. Oh, we honor you.
Nothing but the truth. Nothing but the truth. Nothing but the truth. Nothing but the truth. Nothing but the truth.
God bless you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Nancy Pelosi.
Good morning. Good morning. Today we are gathered in the Capitol's Emancipation Hall to welcome Sojourner Truth to her rightful place in the U.S. Capitol. Please all stand for the opening ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the presentation of the colors by the United States Armed Forces Color Guard and the singing of our national anthem by Yolanda Pelzer, United States Navy Band.
What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing as the Right Bishop Vashti Murphy McKenzie gives the invocation.
Would you please bow your heads and grab the hand of the person who is nearest you, that we may have an unbroken chain of unity at this moment. Oh God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come, we invoke your presence this morning as we pause to look back over the way we have come, and at the same time look ahead to where we need to go. Shower your blessings upon us as we remember that everyone who is a child of God conquers the world, and that the victory that conquers the world is our faith. Thank you that nothing is impossible with you. So we stand in awesome wonder at your servant, Sojourner Truth, who made impossible seem routine. We lift our voices in solemn praise as we pause to remember. Remember the well-worn road traveled by your servant. We pause to remember how enslavement did not hold back her intellect, how the praxis of inhuman and unjust laws couldn't capture her indomitable spirit, how exclusionary tactics couldn't contain, hold captives her desire to serve a higher power. We pause to remember her powerful words, eloquent speeches, and her bold stand for women's rights, the right to vote, the right to full participation and partnership in the American enterprise. Thank you for giving us this moment, this day, to honor a unique woman who risked her life to speak the truth when others didn't want to hear the truth, and when speaking truth could cost you more than you were willing to bear. Cause us to remember this truth, that you can still speak truth to power. Remember that truth will prevail against the vilest lies. Truth is a liberating experience for the speaker and the hearer. Help us to remember a truth that continues a forward march, harmonizing the discords of injustice, a lifting truth that confronts fears and phobias, a living truth that breaks the chains of social, intellectual, and physical incarceration, a truth that keeps marching on, a truth that energizes and stirs up the multitude of gifts that you have given us, so that our daughters' daughters and their daughters after them will become brave and bold articulators of truth, closing the gap between policy and praxis until justice becomes like a mighty river. Oh God, in remembering, help us to renew our commitment to truth so that we can become champions of causes that do not touch our homes, be voices for those who have yet to find theirs, support boldly the causes of freedom wherever we are, so that our freedom doesn't mean the enslavement of another human being. In remembering, give us a vision to plow new ground, plant seeds in good soil, so that the harvest of blessings will come to those yet unborn. Oh God, our help in ages past, continue to be our hope and strength for years to come. And together we lift our voices and say, amen. It's all right to squeeze your neighbor's hand and say amen again.
Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the Secretary of State, the Honorable Hillary Rodham Clinton.
What a wonderful day it is to be here in Emancipation Hall for this great occasion when Sojourner Truth takes her rightful place alongside the heroes who have helped to shape our nation's history. This is an achievement that did not come easily or quickly. It took years of hard work and faith by many people to make this day possible. And what a great honor and pleasure it is to have with us for this extraordinary moment in our nation's history, our First Lady, Michelle Obama. I want to thank the Speaker for her leadership, and also Congressman Boehner and Leader Reid and Senator McConnell, because this was a bipartisan effort. But I especially want to thank my partner in this project from the very beginning. When we first co-sponsored the legislation for this extraordinary memorial years ago, Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee. This dream began with C. Dolores Tucker. All of us who knew and admired and loved C. Dolores remember that when she had her mind made up, you could not change it. She saw this through almost to the very end, and I know she is smiling down on us today in celebration and pride. And it is such a great delight to have with us her husband, William Bill Tucker. Mr. Tucker, thank you. All the members of the National Congress of Black Women deserve our thanks because you raised the money for this memorial. You raised it $1 and $5 at a time. It was a true grassroots effort, and you have every reason to be so proud of what you have achieved here. I also want to take a moment of personal privilege and recognize another one of my heroines, Dr. Dorothy Height, who is here with us. You know, leaders like Dr. Hyde and Ife Williams and Michelle Battle and so many others stand in the footsteps of Sojourner's legacy. It is all around us today. You heard the bishop. We're here because of barriers she challenged and fought to tear down, and paths she helped to forge and trod alone. So we honor her memory and we pay tribute to her life's work. And we recommit ourselves to fighting to end injustice and inequality wherever it remains. 158 years ago, hundreds of women and men from across the country gathered in a church in Akron, Ohio, to declare a simple but revolutionary idea: that the rights afforded to men, particularly the right to vote, belonged to women too. Now, in a few minutes, we're going to hear from one of our great actresses, Cicely Tyson, who will recount those words. But inside that crowded church, when this former slave stood to speak, at first, people were not paying attention. Some were kind of rude if you read the history. But she knew firsthand the cruelties of slavery and oppression and the burden of gender inequality. And she drew vital connections between the two. On that day in Ohio, she told the crowd of suffragettes that if they cared about women's rights, they had to fight for the rights of current and former slaves, and that slaves deserve their support just as the larger society should support the rights of women that they were campaigning for. She lived for nearly 90 years. She never stopped fighting to extend the rights and protections of our democracy. She preached against capital punishment and advocated for prison reform. She recruited African American troops for the Union Army. She helped to desegregate the streetcars that ran through Washington, and she worked diligently to improve living conditions for freed men and women. She did not know how to read or write. Her life was from the most humble and improbable circumstances, but she ended up counting President Lincoln and President Grant among her acquaintances. She never, despite what she went through, stopped believing in the promise of liberty. She lived long enough to see the end of slavery, but not the establishment of voting rights for women. The 19th Amendment would not be passed until 37 years after her death. But today she takes her place in this Capitol, and we are the better for it. Was any person ever better named? Think about it. She is a sojourner of truth, by truth, and for truth. And her words, her example, and her legacy will never perish from this earth, so long as men and women stand up and say loudly and clearly, "We hear you echoing down through the years of history. We believe that your journey is not yet over, and we will make the rest of that journey with you." God bless the memory of Sojourner Truth.
Ladies and gentlemen, United States Representative from Texas, the Honorable Sheila Jackson Lee.
Speaker Pelosi, for your generosity and your kindness and your understanding, I greet you and thank you. To the Secretary of State, who champions causes of freedom, to our Minority Leader, Boehner, the Majority Leader, Reid, our Senate Minority Leader, McConnell, and to our regal and brilliant First Lady, Michelle Obama. To this wonderful podium and members of the dais, I call on my Oscar-winning actress, who we will hear, for she is in our hearts. I now call to order the meeting of the Sojourner Truth Crusade. You are now in order. May I have your attention? That is not an inside commentary. For those who've been on the battlefield for a long time, they know that Dr. C. Dolores Tucker had the Sojourner Truth Crusade. And for those of you who are late to the table, we want you to be members because it's a unity time today. And we are all here to celebrate this great time. Let me also add my appreciation to my legislative duo of the Majority Leader, Steny Hoyer, and Majority Whip, Jim Clyburn, who had to hurry up and get this date going very quickly so that we could celebrate. I will mention her again, but Diane Watson was on the team. And I must have the members of the Congressional Black Caucus and the Women's Caucus stand up I see our chair, Barbara Lee. Stand up so that you can be seen. We work together. Senator Gillibrand, stand up. Senator Gillibrand, please stand up. This was a unity cause. It was a recognition that even in the 1990s, the portrait monument was in the basement. And so women from all walks of life had to demand our equality. And I want you to know that the National Congress was right there recognizing that women needed to be recognized. You can see how excited I am. I let my hair down. We came together, and we were reminded in this coming together of the words of Maya Angelou. You may trod me into the dirt, but still like dust I rise. Out of the huts of history's shame I rise, and into a daybreak that is wondrous and clear I rise. I am the dream and the hope of slaves. I rise, and I rise. That was Dr. C. Dolores Tucker's mission and that of the NCBW. She had a message. Let the truth be heard, she wrote. This is a struggle about truth and for truth. And as I thought about her remarks and what I would say this morning, I began to think of vessels. Vessels that brought slaves to this land. Vessels that would begin to change America by being the spark plugs. Vehicles who would move the Congress, move the nation to recognize that, as Bill Tucker told me, her driving force was that she didn't want the children of America to come to the United States Capitol and be told an untruth, that African American women were not involved with the suffragette movement. She wanted the truth to be told. We are vessels, somewhat like Isabella Bumfrey, who changed her name, a mother of 5, who as a teenager came to experience the brutality of being beat, her shirt torn off by a bundle of sticks, but yet she did not cry. That is the strength I saw in my co-legislator, Senator Clinton, who said, we got to get this done. All the time, we got to get this done. In the Rayburn room, we got to get this done. In the halls of the Senate, we got to get this done. And I think she must have heard Sojourner Truth, because it was about truth. So let the truth be heard. That was not the end of Sojourner Truth's fight after being beat as a teenager, because then she fought against the horrors of slavery. She fought for the empowerment of women, and that story has to be told. So for a decade, she garnered the support of every single person she could find. 150 women's organizations, thousands of women, Dr. Martha Thurl, Susan Jolly, Kim Gandy, Eleanor Smeal, every women's organization she could find. And then she said to the Congress, you will do what I say. We will get this done. She could not live with an incomplete history, and neither can we. And our legislation, again, was one of unity, a vessel, a vehicle, spurred on by the dynamic and sharp wit of Dr. Dorothy Height, who had her own way of keeping her eye on the progress of this legislation. Michelle Battle, and of course the president of NCBW, Dr. E. Fay Williams, who said, we never gave up, no matter what stood in our way. We traveled the dusty road, and we were going to achieve victory. So, my friends, if you sit here today, able to walk the streets of Washington, D.C. in this land, equal and free, if as a woman you have achieved great success in your profession, in your home, in your church, in your place of worship, it is because we kept pressing the faith to understand that though Sojourner Truth's presence today by statute does not feed the world, but it is symbolistic, if you will, a symbolism of what we have to do. So we press for the truth, and through this effort we have proven that the suffragist movement was enriched by African American women and inspired by Sojourner Truth. And so today we appear deserving, timely, and correct. Dr. Tucker must have had the exact time in mind, can you imagine the presidency is held by Barack Obama? Our First Lady is here today. So, Sojourner, in your name, you brought to the women's movement your religious beliefs, your love for all people, both women and men, your opposition to slavery, your motherhood, your understanding womanhood, your moral values, prophetic voice that America has often sought when she sought after the daughters and the sons of African Americans. So, Dr. Tucker, I tell you, we are glad of your vision. NCBW, thank you for staying the course. Unified audience from all walks of life, thank you for being in the fight. Sojourner Truth, the Crusaders meeting is now only in recess until the next struggle for justice is here. The truth is powerful and it will prevail. God bless you and God bless America.
Ladies and gentlemen, Cicely Tyson.
Well, children, where there's so much racket, there must be something out of kilter. I think between the women of the North and the Negroes of the South, all thinking about rights, you white men gonna be in a fix pretty soon. Well, what's all this talking about? This man over there, yes, you. He said women have to be helped into carriages, lifted over ditches, and to have the best place everywhere. Well, nobody ever helped me in no carriage, over no mud puddles, or gives me any best place, and ain't our woman. Look at me. Look at my arms. I done plowed and planted and gathered into barns, and no man could head me. And ain't our woman? Then they talk about this thing in the head, but I'm not going there yet, because I want to tell you that I done birthed 13 children and saw them most all sold out to slavery. And when I cried out with a mother's grief, none but Jesus heard me, and ain't that a woman? Then they talks about this thing in the head. What's that they call it? They call it intellect. Intellect, that's it, sugar. What's that got to do with women's rights or Negroes' rights? If my cup don't hold but a pint and yourn hold a quart, wouldn't you be mean not to let me have my little half a pint? Huh? Then, this man in the back, yes, you, yes, he says, women's can't have as much rights as men's because Christ wasn't a woman. Well, where your Christ come from? Where your Christ come from? From God and a woman. Man didn't have nothing to do with it. Now, if the first woman God ever made was able to take this world and turn it upside down, all these women's hair together ought to be able to get it back and turn it right side up again. And now they's asking to do it. You men better let them.
That's all I have to say. Much obliged for your listening to me. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Republican leader of the United States House of Representatives, John Boehner.
I'm not sure that I can match that performance. By the time the Sojourner Truth was born in 1797, servitude and slavery had been accepted by white Europeans on this continent for almost 200 years. And it was not, we forget that slavery was practiced in the 13 original colonies even after the ratification of the U.S. Constitution. And it was not a coincidence that at the same time American colonists began rejecting the tyranny of a king in Great Britain, many of our founding fathers began questioning the tyranny of slavery here in America. In 1774, 2 years before the Declaration, Benjamin Franklin and Benjamin Rush set up America's first anti-slavery society. 3 years later, in 1777, John Jay, who later became our first Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, drafted the first bill to abolish slavery in New York. That attempt failed, as did another in 1785. But by 1799, 2 years after Sojourner Truth was born, New York and almost every other northern state had passed laws mandating the emancipation of slaves. And in New York, slavery was to come to a complete end in 1827, but not for Sojourner Truth, because in 1826 she'd had enough of being a slave and decided to leave her master. And I think all of you know it was a point of pride for her that she didn't run away. She walked away. After claiming her birthright as a free American, Sojourner went on to lead an incredible life as a writer and crusader for equality and reform. In her lifetime, she witnessed the abolishment of slavery. 25 states were added to the Union. Railroad and telegraph connected our nation, and the light bulb and the telephone were invented. She lived until 1883, just as America was beginning an era of unparalleled growth and technological achievement. While she lived with the ugliness of slavery, she fought for the triumph of freedom. She knew what the founding fathers knew, that these American ideas of liberty and freedom and personal rights were not new or revolutionary ideas, but were given by God to every man, woman, and child. Sojourner Truth lived to make sure that the Declaration of Independence was not just a bunch of words, but the truths that apply to everyone. Sojourner, it is fitting and proper that we're here today to honor you. Her legacy and her life will be honored right here in Emancipation Hall, because she fought for the emancipation of everyone from a tyranny that is a sad part of our history. I want to thank all of those who were involved in making today happen and congratulate you on such a successful event. Thank you for being here.
Ladies and gentlemen, Republican leader of the United States Senate, Mitch McConnell.
Good morning. Throughout her long, momentous life, Sojourner Truth was guided by a simple yet powerful principle. If the laws of men conflicted with the laws of God, she would follow the higher law. It was this principle that guided the young mother to escape from slavery with a baby in her arms. This principle that compelled her in middle age to become an itinerant preacher and to spread the message of equality for all God's children a full century before another preacher would rouse a nation to take up her cause anew. The woman we have come here to honor could neither read nor write. She was not a particularly polished speaker. She was not a woman of means. But she had great faith. She had good humor. She had passion. And she had an unbending will to do right. And for that, her nation honors her today. Sojourner Truth was a tall woman, and she once said that she felt so tall inside that it was as if the power of a nation was within her. So it's fitting that we should memorialize her today in the nation's capital. And it's also fitting, of course, that this honor should be conferred by the First Lady, Michelle Obama. And, of course, by Speaker Pelosi as well. Women did not have such prominent roles during the lifetime of Sojourner Truth. But I doubt it would have surprised her that they one day would, because she knew her cause was just, and she had faith that the principles she believed in would triumph. Today, America remembers and honors Sojourner Truth for that faithfulness and for that trust in the rightness of her cause. May this monument serve as a constant reminder to all of us of a mission that does not end. And may every generation of Americans from this day on pay tribute to the life and spirit of Sojourner Truth. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Majority Leader of the United States Senate, the Honorable Harry Reid.
Just steps from this spot lives Katie Stanton, Susan B. Anthony, and Lucretia Mott look proudly over the Capitol Rotunda from a block of white Italian marble. A rough, unfinished slab of stone stands behind them. Sojourner Truth, who carved out her place in history, fighting bravely, not only for the emancipation of slaves, for women to exercise the freedom to vote, is the missing piece of that story. Today, Congress gives Sojourner Truth her own overdue monument here in Emancipation Hall in the shadow of the Statue of Freedom. Sojourner Truth was a woman of great faith, and from that faith flowed immense courage. Cicely Tyson just beautifully read the words, I should say, spoke the words. She didn't read anything. Spoke the words of Sojourner Truth to a convention of women a decade before the Civil War and 7 decades before the country's Constitution belatedly bestowed a woman's right to participate in our democracy. One line in particular has proven a powerful prophecy, and Cicely Tyson spoke it so well. If the first woman God ever made was strong enough to turn the world upside down all alone, these women together ought to be able to turn it back and get it right side up again. Today, we not only honor the woman immortalized here by the skilled hands of sculptor artist Lane, herself a descendant of a brave abolitionist, but the women who surround me today and who every day make Sojourner Truth's prophecy come true. First Lady Michelle Obama. Secretary of State of the United States, Hillary Rodham Clinton. Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, the first woman, Nancy Pelosi. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, and Cicely Tyson. Thank you all for your courage in turning our world right side up. And to the National Congress of Black Women and the Senior Senator from Michigan, instrumental in passing this, Carl Levin, thank you for all your hard work and making this day possible.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome students from the Ron Clark Academy.
Good morning. My name is Willie Thornton, and I am proud to be a student at the Ron Clark Academy. At our school, it is our intent to obtain a world-class education, which includes learning about our heritage and the ancestors who came before us, while also acquiring an appreciation of other nations and cultures. In class, we learn all about the world, and then we get to travel in order to experience those cultures firsthand, which is great because by the time we have graduated the 8th grade, we have visited 6 of the 7 continents. In addition to learning about the world, we also enjoy writing songs about various domestic and foreign affairs issues. For example, last fall during the election, we wrote the song You Can Bore Every Light that gained worldwide attention. We also wrote the song Dear Obama in tribute of our amazing new president. But the song that we're going to be performing today is a tribute to one of our greatest heroes, Miss Sojourner Truth. We will be singing the song to the tune of I Believe, also by one of our greatest heroes, Miss Yolanda Adams. So on behalf of all of my fellow classmates at the Ron Clark Academy, it is such an honor to be here at this joyous occasion. So without further ado, we would like to perform that song for you now, Sojourner's Truth.
Those who came before us made the path, leaving us a legacy that lasts. Women like Sojourner led the way, fighting for new rights, a price she paid. She worked so hard for ideals like justice, freedom, faith, and truth. She believed, so we'll never give up. We can reach our goals with faith in our souls. We sing.
ladies and gentlemen, the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives, the Honorable Nancy Pelosi.
Thank you. Thank you all very much. Watching those young children from the Ron Clark Academy, I couldn't help but think, oh, and by the way, weren't they wonderful? I couldn't help but think of Sojourner Truth walking away from slavery with a baby in her arm, thinking about how could she have would have ever suspected that over 150 years later, we would be gathered in the capital of the United States with the First Lady of our country, with the Secretary of State, with such distinguished guests, all gathered in her name. How could she have imagined that? To paraphrase the Bible, now let us praise great women, and first among them today, Sojourner Truth. Sojourner Truth. I know, standing before you as the first woman Speaker of the House, joined by many women colleagues here today, and certainly the Secretary of State, we would never have been here without the courage and the intellect and the determination of Sojourner Truth. We would not simply be here. It is very appropriate that we gather here in Emancipation Hall, that this statue will be unveiled here, this bust of Sojourner Truth, so that every person who visits the capital of the United States will know her important role in America's history, and will see her as an inspiration for the work left undone to fight injustice, hatred, and cruelty in our society and in the world. It's appropriate also that we're gathered in a bipartisan way. The senators had a vote, so they had to go. But in a bipartisan way, with Mr. Boehner here, Mr. McConnell, and our Democratic leader in the Senate, Mr. Reid, because it's part of something bigger. It's part of us coming together in a bipartisan way the day we gave the Congressional Gold Medal to Dr. Dorothy Height. And what a great day. That day when we honored her, we not only honored her, we brought luster to the Congress of the United States and that award. And in my office, I have a beautiful bust given to me by C. Dolores Tuxer of Mary McLeod Bethune. Mr. Clyburn, Mr. Hoyer, you see that bust every time you come in my office. She gave it to me when I first became part of the leadership, and it stays there as a constant reminder of another great woman who helped get us where we are today. C. Dolores Tucker gave me that, but she also gave all of us our marching orders. And if you wanted to save time, you just took your instruction early, right? I'm so honored that members of her family are with us, as has been acknowledged. I also want to recognize the chair of the National Congress of Black Women, but I want her to stand up so you can all see Ife Williams, Dr. Ife Williams. As we continue to praise great women, let us praise all of the women of the National Congress of Black Women who are with us today. Please, all of you, rise. Thank you. And guess what? We're really blessed to have, it's most emotional to say, Sojourner Truth's members of her family, direct descendants of Sojourner Truth, here from Battle Creek, my colleague, Congressman Mark Schauer, has brought them from Battle Creek, Michigan. Please rise. I told you what I was thinking listening to the children. Listening to Cicely Tyson, oh my gosh, wasn't that unbelievable? And without a note. Listening to her, though, I was thinking of something that President Obama has said to us over and over again. Listening to Cicely Tyson talk about the speech, deliver part of the speech that Sojourner Truth gave to that convention. The President tells us all the time, if you can convince a room, you can convince a community, you can change a country. Sojourner Truth did just that. She did just that. In her lifelong fight for equality, she fought to end slavery, we know that, to expand opportunity, and she saw the end of the Civil War, which had torn our country apart. I guess, again, I speak for all women who have made progress in our country, and when we acknowledge that Sojourner Truth, she not only made history, she made progress. And we want this Capitol to reflect that enormous contribution. She's not going to be alone, but pretty soon we're going to have a statue to Rosa Parks in the Capitol as well. I just close with some of her own words. She said, "I'm glad to see men are getting their rights, but I want women to get theirs too. And while the water is stirring, I will step into the pool." She not only did that, she set an example for the rest of us to continue to step into that stirring waters in that pool. God truly blessed America with the life and the legacy of Sojourner Truth. Thank you all for being here to share
that. Ladies and gentlemen, the First Lady of the United States, Mrs. Michelle Obama.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm not going to talk long because everybody has said just about everything that can be said. But let me tell you something. I am proud to be here. I want to congratulate everyone who was a part of making this day possible. The NCBW, all of the elected officials, C. Dolores Tucker, her family, the family of Sojourner Truth. It is just a sheer delight to have you here witnessing this. But let's just think about this day and this gathering. It is so good to see this hall filled with so many strong women, a few brothers in here too, a few people, but such a diverse group of people crowding this hall. And one can only imagine what Sojourner Truth, an outspoken, tell it like it is kind of woman. And we all know a little something about that, right? Just to imagine what she would have to say about this incredible gathering. Just looking down on this day and thinking about the legacy she has left all of us, because we are all here because, as my husband says time and time again, we stand on the shoulders of giants like Sojourner Truth. And just as Susan B. Anthony, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Lucretia Mott would be pleased to know that we have a woman serving as the Speaker of the House of Representatives, I hope that Sojourner Truth would be proud to see me, a descendant of slaves, serving as the First Lady of the United States of America. So I am proud to be here. I am proud to be able to stand here on this day for this dedication. And just as many young boys and girls have walked through this Capitol, I see them now. and they see the bust of suffragists and hear the stories of the struggles of women, what they had to endure to gain the right to vote. Now, many young boys and girls like my own daughters will come to Emancipation Hall and see the face of a woman who looks like them. And all the visitors in the U.S. Capitol will hear the story of brave women who endured the greatest of humanity's indignities. They'll hear the story of Sojourner Truth, who didn't allow those indignities to destroy her spirit, who fought for her own freedom and then used her powers, young people, then she used her powers to help others, who fought for the right to vote and for the rights of all women. The power of this bust will not just be in the medal that delineates Sojourner Truth's face, it will also be in the message that defines her legacy. Forevermore, in the halls of one of our country's greatest monuments of liberty and equality, justice and freedom, Sojourner's Truth story will be told again and again and again and again. So now let's get on with unveiling this statue. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated for the unveiling of the bust. Ladies and gentlemen, the bust of Sojourner Truth. Ladies and gentlemen, Rabbi Amy Schwartzman will now deliver the benediction.
One moment, please. Mr. Clyburn has said that many of you perhaps have not met the artist. Yes. The statue that we unveil today is obviously a replica of Sojourner Truth's likeness. As you will see, Artist Lane, the artist, has used hard rock to sculpture Sojourner's, not only her beauty, but her strength, her humanity, and her energy. We are grateful to Artist Lane for her contribution to bring truth to the Capitol.
Rabbi Amy Schwartzman will now deliver the benediction.
On behalf of all the visual artists of the world, I know our president has put aside a budget for our culture to be recognized out of the bigoted museums that have left out of the culture when all students of all races enter the museums. I'm so proud to be a humble, working woman who was inspired by this lady and also my great-great-aunt, Mary Ann Shadd Carey, who I think knew her. They were about the same era. It was when the speaker, I'm unveiling her bronze in Canada, May the 2nd. I just want to thank you to recognize if you have children at home who want to be visual artists, don't discourage them. God gave them a gift. God will see it through and supply them.
Please rise for the benediction.
Friends, let us close this momentous and historic event as Sojourner Truth would have us do with a prayer that sends us out into the world to act. Holy One of blessing, we have come today as a community of caring individuals, united in our deep gratitude for the life and legacy of your servant, Sojourner Truth. God, you gave her many gifts. You gave her courage and faith, prophetic wisdom, a powerful and compelling voice, and an unrelenting commitment to bring equality to this great nation. It is not enough for us to thank you, O God, for the gift of Sojourner Truth. Inspired by her words and deeds, we too must leave this place and go out to change the world for the better. Could we but borrow a portion of her power or a kernel of her wisdom, perhaps we might find the strength and insight needed to fight the injustices that plague our communities. Could we but embrace a fraction of her passion or a drop of her determination, we too might lift up the fallen, draw in the disenfranchised, and wipe out the oppression and inequality that tragically still exist. Sojourner Truth must be our teacher, our leader, and our inspiration not only today, but every day. Her spirit and wisdom must be forever with us. Her life has taught us that if we don't work together to overcome the evils that beset us, if we don't care for each other and labor for the liberation of all suffering humanity, then we are neither Jews nor Christians, Buddhists nor Muslims, nor are we the authentic children of God. Lord, we call you by many different names, and you speak to us in many different ways. Look favorably upon this splendidly diverse community. Bless us today as one. Guide us as we continue to work to make real the dream of Sojourner Truth, the dream of equality, justice, wholeness, and peace for all people. This is our dream, and we know this is your dream as well. We pray as the psalmist did, Ma'aseya denu konena aleinu, uma'aseya denu konenehu. May the Holy One establish the work of our hands, and may the work of our hands establish God in our world. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain in place for the departure of the official party. Ladies and gentlemen, please return to your seats for the departure of the official party.